Hi, my name is Asan. I'm in my early 40s, and I've spent most of my life on the same piece of land my grandfather bought long before I was born. I'm not the kind of man who looks for drama. I like simple things. Early mornings, hard work on the farm, and quiet evenings with my family. But one thing I've learned is that peace doesn't always last. Sometimes trouble shows up on your doorstep, even when you never invited it. That's exactly what happened when a homeowners association tried to claim the lake on my property. I grew up on this land, and for as long as I can remember, the lake behind my farmhouse has been the heart of everything I do. Early mornings, I would sit on the porch with a cup of coffee and watch the mist float over the water. My kids learned to fish there, my wife planted flowers by the shoreline, and every summer we held small family gatherings under the oak trees by the lake. This was not just water on a map. This was my family's heritage, a piece of history passed down through generations. I thought it would stay peaceful forever, but I was wrong. A few years ago, the land across the road was sold to a developer. Within months, cookie-cutter houses started popping up, and with them came something I had only heard horror stories about: a homeowners association. At first, I didn't think much of it. Their world was over there, mine was here. I didn't live in their neighborhood, and I sure didn't sign up for their rules. But the moment they noticed the lake, things started to change. One afternoon, a woman in a bright blazer and a man carrying a clipboard walked right up to my porch. They introduced themselves as members of the HOA board. Their tone was polite but sharp, like they were trying to sell me something while reminding me I had no choice. They said, "The community would like access to the lake. Our residents expect to enjoy it. Since it borders the neighborhood, we assume it falls under HOA oversight." I almost spit out my coffee. I told them flat out, "This is private property. The lake belongs to me and has for decades. Your HOA has nothing to do with it." Their smiles faded fast. They exchanged a look. Then the man scribbled something on his clipboard. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was just the beginning of a battle. Within weeks, I started noticing strangers walking along the shoreline, families from the new neighborhood setting up folding chairs, even kids swimming in the water without asking. When I told them to leave, they said the HOA had given them lake access. Couldn't believe it. That's when the letters started arriving. Official-looking envelopes from the HOA claiming I was denying community rights and threatening fines if I didn't cooperate. I laughed at first. How could they fine me? I wasn't even part of their association. But when they started putting notices on my gate, warning that they would take legal measures to gain access, my patience started to wear thin. I decided to confront them directly. I walked into one of their HOA meetings uninvited, right as they were discussing lake maintenance budgets. The room went silent when they saw me. Their president, the same woman who first came to my porch, tried to brush me off, saying, "Sir, this is a private meeting for HOA members only." I leaned on the table and said, "Then stop talking about my property. That lake isn't part of your neighborhood, and it sure as hell isn't part of your budget. You're trespassing every time you step on my land." They didn't like that one bit. The murmurs, the glares. I could feel the anger boiling in the room. One board member muttered, "We'll see about that." True to their word, the HOA hired a lawyer. Soon after, I received documents claiming that because the lake bordered their community, it should be considered a shared resource. They demanded I hand over partial control. I wasn't intimidated. I dug out my grandfather's old deed, the one carefully preserved in a folder at the county clerk's office. It didn't just say I owned the land around the lake. It said I owned the lake itself right down to the waterbed. I hired my own attorney, and we sent the HOA a very clear letter: trespass again, and they'd be facing a lawsuit of their own. The HOA thought I would back down. Instead, I went further. I called the county surveyor and had the entire property line remarked with fresh stakes and legal documents. Not only did it confirm my ownership, but it also revealed something deliciously ironic. A small strip of land the HOA thought was part of their community, where they had already built a playground, was technically mine too. When they saw the updated maps, their faces drained of color. They realized they had been the ones trespassing all along. I could have evicted their playground overnight if I wanted to. News of the HOA's failed land grab spread faster than they expected. Word got around the neighborhood, and suddenly, their own residents began questioning them. Families who had believed the board's lies started showing up at HOA meetings, demanding to know why their fees had been wasted on a pointless legal fight. The board members tried to spin it, saying they were protecting community interests, but no one bought it anymore. Meanwhile, I carried on with life as usual. Every weekend, I'd fire up the grill by the lake, invite friends over, and let laughter echo across the water. And the best part? Some of the very same neighbors who once trespassed now avoided even driving past my property. The HOA's arrogance had backfired, leaving them humiliated not just legally, but socially. A few months later, I got one last letter, this time not from their lawyer, but from the HOA president herself. It wasn't a threat, it was an apology. She admitted they had no legal standing and said they would respect the boundaries going forward. I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because the truth was simple. My family's lake remained ours, untouched and untouchable. The HOA's empire of rules and fines ended where my property line began. And while they sat in meetings arguing about mailbox paint and lawn heights, I sat by the water, fishing rod in hand, watching the sunset paint the lake gold. That's when it really hit me. This wasn't just about winning a fight. It was about protecting something priceless. Heritage, freedom, peace. The HOA tried to seize my farm lake. Too bad for them. I didn't just own the land. I owned the legacy.